So, welcome to another episode of Wellness Bites with Gauri. And today I'm really excited to have a wonderful guest with us who's not only a wonderful friend of mine, but who's a world renowned cardiologist, Dr. Indranill Basu Ray. So, Dr. Indranill Basu Ray, welcome to our show. And I'm so excited to have you on our show. We have so much to talk about, and especially with all the knowledge that you bring in. So, again, welcome to our show. The Dr.
Thanks for having
Indranill
me.
Dr. Indranill Basu Ray is a world-renowned cardiologist, as I said, and he has been delivering a lot of the lectures on world-renowned colleges and things, Harvard included. So I'm going to let Dr. Indranill Basu Ray give a chance to him to introduce about himself and how he came into this field and what's unique about him. So tell us about yourself.
Well, I wanted to be a cardiologist. Actually, I wanted to do, I just didn't want to be another doctor. There are thousands of doctors who give painkillers and cough syrup. So I wanted to do something different. And that's why I chose cardiology. And then, of course, I'm in a branch of cardiology called cardiac electrophysiology. So in a minimally invasive way, we go inside the heart and do a bunch of things. And as you know, this is one of the latest branch of cardiology, like it's hardly around 25 years old. So unlike interventional cardiologists who just go to the surface of the heart and open up blood vessels, we go inside the heart. So we are called interventional cardiac electrophysiologists. So I wanted to be a doctor from when I was a kid, because as I said, I not only wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to do something that was new, that made a change. So when after I did my MBBS, MD, and then a DM in India, I got two offers, one for an interventional cardiologist in England and another offer to come to United States to do what is known as, in short, EP. My field is called EP, cardiac electrophysiology. So that time I decided, because in India, almost every lane has got an interventional cardiologist. So I don't want to be that. And there was no trained interventional cardiac electrophysiologist in India. I was one of the first one to be trained. So I came over, did my fellowship, and then did one fellowship in Toronto, Canada. Did the second one I did at Mass General. Then I was a faculty at Harvard. So that's how it started, how I became a doctor and a cardiac electrophysiologist.
So that's really wonderful, Dr. Indranill Basu Ray, learning more about how you came into this field and especially with cardiology and things as well. Now I know that you have one more interesting aspect about you, that you are interested in yoga. So tell us more about how did you get interested in yoga, and tell us a little about the yoga philosophy.
So I got interested in yoga because my father used to sit and meditate when I was a kid. So I started following him. So I started meditation at the age of 6. And initially I was just sitting and meditating, just sort of more mimicking him than really meditating, just because my dad did it. Then I read, when I was pretty young, I read there's a book by Vivekananda. It's called Raja Yoga. So I read Raj Yoga. I read a couple of other books. I read a little bit of Maharishi Aurobindo. And and then there was a book called the Fritz of Capra. The book is called The Tao of Physics, which compares the latest in physics with Hindu philosophy. So after reading the book, after reading the book, I got really interested that we need to understand the science of yoga. So Fritz of Capra was a guy who was a nuclear physicist at Geneva, where they actually discovered the boson, that is the Higgs boson. And then he became a sannyasi, became a Hindu sannyasi, Hindu monk. And I don't know if you guys know, a lot of people in this world does not know. So in Geneva, we have the CERN, which is the world's largest atom smasher. And before you enter the gate, there is a big statue. And that statue is not of any other god, or for example, Jesus Christ. Was West Europe is a Christian country, but the statue is of Nataraja, or the Shiva in the dancing form. So imagine the world's biggest atoms crasher, which is creating particles like Higgs boson, has in its entrance this picture of Shiva. Because the Western concept, the latest physics concept of the universe, who we are, how we exist, is very close to the Hindu concept of Advaita. So that got interested when I was a kid, and then I started going after a lot of people to see who I can have as my guru. So I met a lot of people. I met the head of Ramakrishna Mission, some of the people there. Then I went all the way to the south. I met the Shankaracharya at that time. Chandrasekhar Bharati was the Shankaracharya. He had a triple PhDs. He's sort of considered almost the new father of Vedic mathematics. I met him. I wanted a guru who could really teach me the nuances of meditation or yoga. Yoga actually is meditation. Unfortunately, in the West, what has happened is we are just interested with the physical part of yoga. But the physical part of yoga or asanas is just like 2 to 3% of yoga. 95% of yoga is actually meditation. So then I went to all those people, and finally then I got my guru, and that was it's a story for another day. Because I wanted a guru who was in India. What happens is a lot of people, because of poverty, they land up in an ashram, then they grow up and they become big sannyasis. But Vivekananda said that if you have everything and then you give up, that's what is the real sannyasi. Not because you're forced into a situation and then you become a sannyasi. So my guru was like that. My guru was textile engineer in 1927, possibly one of the first textile engineers in India. And then after passing, he took sannyas. And my lineage is obviously extremely famous. It's world famous, but very esoteric, because unlike some of the gurus you hear today, we don't have big corporation, big meeting, gala meeting, and you pay money and get, none of these things happen. So I belong to the Kriya Yoga. So Kriya Yoga, based on the yoga history, is this, that Kriya Yoga, the yoga started with so-called Shiva, if that exists, giving the first instruction to the 7 rishis called the Sapta Rishis in a place 30 miles from present-day Kedarnath. There's a small lake there. And then it is said Agastya, one of those munis, went all around India at that time and spread yoga. So yoga continued like that, and it was written down by somebody called Maharishi Patanjali. So Patanjali is not the founder of yoga. He just put it, he codified it, he put it down in writing. Shiva also gave it to somebody called Matsyananda, and his disciple is known as Gorakhnath. There's a place called Gorakhpur in UP, as you guys have to know. It's a famous place. So Gorakhnath was supposed to be born there. He was the disciple of Matsyendranath. He was considered Shiva because he changed Hatha Yoga, that is the paradigm of physical yoga, to reach Godhead. So my field is Kriya Yoga. So the one who reintroduced this is known as Mahavatar Babaji, who became, and Mahavatar Babaji is supposed to be nobody else other than Gorakhnath himself. And his disciple is Lahiri Baba, and Lahiri Baba's disciple is Yukteswar Giri. Yukteswar Giri's disciple is both Paramahansa Yogananda and my guru, Hariharananda Giri. So obviously I've been doing this for many decades now, and that's how my interest came, and that's how I'm into Kriya Yoga.
So wonderful, Dr. Indranill Basu Ray. I mean, thank you so much for talking about your yoga and the philosophy in yoga and touching base and even the history part and things. So very grateful for that as well. So one question I do have in my mind is, when it comes to specifically heart disease, how is stress and heart disease, how are they connected?
So heart disease, every heart disease is due to stress. Possibly most of cancer is also due to stress, though there is some controversies whether stress can directly cause new cancer. But oncologists have a divided opinion because we don't have that much strong proof now. But it's almost 100% sure that if you do have cancer already, if you have stress, that will increase cancer. So 70% of all the diseases that kills on this planet, which includes heart disease kills twice the number of times than cancer and stroke. They're all due to stress. Now, so there's really nothing, all the risk factors so that we talk about, like we say hypertension is the risk factor. Hypertension is caused by stress. Now we know that. Diabetes is a risk factor. Diabetes is caused by stress. High cholesterol is a risk factor. High cholesterol is caused by stress. So everything is caused by stress. So there is nothing in this world that you can save yourself from unless if you have stress. Now your question might be, then why do you have stress? Because living itself causes stress. And I'll tell you why. It's very simple. We lived on this earth for 4 million years. So when we get up in the morning, you don't get to see your wife or your husband or your kids or your father and mother. For millions of years, when you get up in the morning, you might see an anaconda trying to enter your cave, or you might have seen a saber-toothed elephant, a saber-toothed tiger, or a mammoth standing. So you or our predecessors had two options, either to kill it or to escape. And obviously they did something right. That's why you and I are the dominant species in this universe. Somebody else would have been dominant species on Earth. So a human body is known to treat every incident as an emergency. So even though you're not facing saber-toothed tiger, you're not facing any mammoth or any large anaconda trying to gulp you up, still you behave like that. And now there's been tons of research last 10 years, even simple things, like suppose you want to be you join a job and you want to be the CEO one day, which is normal, it's a normal, or even what you might think pretty stupid thing, that you have a very nice car, a Mercedes and a big home. I think I'm as good as you, but I don't have any one of these. So what we call in simple language, jealousy. The biology of us doesn't understand jealousy, brain does. So brain creates reaction that creates inflammation in our body. So day-to-day events create inflammation, and that leads to diabetes, that leads to hypertension, leads to heart disease. And that is why every heart disease is basically caused by stress. Other than a few congenital disorders, that's obviously different.
So wonderful explanation, Dr. Basu Ray, and especially the way you explain about the stress effect and things as well, and how we have those risk factors and things. So excellent explanation on that. So other question I have for you is, how can a person with high blood pressure benefit from meditation?
In a number of ways. As I said, blood pressure is an expression of stress for a long time. So as you start having stress for a long time, there is inflammatory changes in your blood vessels. Your blood vessel wall, which is supposed to be like an elastic membrane, becomes thick like a plastic or a lead, like the normal pipes we have in our washrooms. So then blood pressure starts. What is blood pressure? Blood pressure means your blood is expressing a pressure on the wall. So if the wall is very pliable, which is when we are born, or when we are within the first decade, or even in the second decade, then slowly it gets stiff. And this stiffness is because there's inflammation. So normal blood wall is converted into a thick material. There's deposition of calcium and other things. So it becomes thick. And that's why nowadays you see with this increased amount of stress, which could be economic, pandemic, and other things, you have young people presenting with high blood pressures, which is almost unknown, say 30 or 40 years back. So when you have the stress, when the wall thickens, you have high blood pressure. So the answer is you need to get rid of stress, because this high blood pressure will make you have stroke. This high blood pressure will make you have coronary artery disease or heart attack, will make you have what is known as peripheral arterial disease. You may need to chop off your legs because there's not enough blood supply there. It's a devil has many faces, but the ultimate thing is the same thing. Inside, it's the same thing going on, no difference. So when you practice meditation, that's when you practice yoga, as I said, yoga means say 5% of physical exercises that is cardiovascular wise good, just like any exercise. Asana or yoga, the physical part of asana or yoga, which is called the hatha yoga, is just as good as any physical exercise, whether you do Pilates, whether you run. So where is the benefit of yoga? Benefit of yoga is not only in the asanas. Actually, a minimal benefit of yoga is from the asanas, just like any other physical exercise. But 95% of the benefit comes from meditation. So now we know the inflammation that I talked about is caused by release of many hormones inside the body. There are over 330 genes that get activated, and they perpetuate inflammation everywhere in your body. When you practice meditation, you can switch off these genes, you can switch off the inflammation. So not only can you prevent hypertension, you can do something much more. For example, you can decrease aging also. 2009, Elizabeth Blackburn got a Nobel Prize for discovering telomerase, which causes cellular aging. So meditation decreases that. So meditation is now known to decrease aging. In this country, people 80, 85 years of age, 30, 35% of people over 80 years of age languish in nursing homes. They don't know their name, they don't know who their children is, who their wife is, where they live, because the brain is gone. And a large number of them have sort of called vascular dementia or Alzheimer's. Meditation actually makes your brain grow. So if you practice meditation from today, there's 90% chance that you'll never ever get Alzheimer's. And Sarah Laser, one of the researchers at Mass General, actually showed in 2010, that was the first paper. After that, there's over 70, 80 papers now, that your brain grows pretty thick, almost an inch, if you practice meditation for 10 years. So imagine Alzheimer's is a disease where there's a couple of medicines which hardly work. They are minimally effective, very little effective. But meditation makes your brain grow. So all these are the different ways. Plus there's one more thing, as I said, the hormonal changes, the genetic changes that generally take place is almost most of the time secondary to changes in the brain. If you're an anxiety liking personality, if you're a depressive liking personality, your brain start producing some stuff, your brain neuronal changes take place in your brain, so you're always depressed, you're always anxious. But when you start meditation, there's something called neuroplasticity, the entire brain changes. For example, they have got kids who were born in Europe without parents, or parents were killed, and they were kept in foster homes. So they had a brain which was always, they were abused. So they had parts of their brain called the hypothalamus, which was very big. And the hypothalamus is the basic brain. That's the brain we share with reptiles, with the crocodile, with the dinosaurs. So that is the brain which is jealous of other people, angry with other people. And these kids, when they were taught meditation, it was found that their hypothalamus gets smaller and smaller. They did doing PET scan and functional MRIs. So meditation works in multiple ways. A, changes the brain. B, the very reason for hypertension to occur, which is thickening of the blood vessels, that wall of the blood vessel, that decreases. Hormones like noradrenaline, which are increased in increased amounts when you have anxiety, those stop coming out. So there are multiple ways, even we don't even know. I mean, maybe in the future we'll get a bunch of Nobel Prize on this, the mechanism. But it's a total effect on multiple parameters: brain, blood cells, molecular, cellular, genetic, epigenetic, where meditation acts to prevent these diseases.
So that's absolutely great explanation, and especially that you touched based on how meditation helps with the cellular changes and things, and how you give an explanation about how it helps overall. It basically benefits the multiple organs in the body as well. So thank you for again, touching base on the effect of meditation as well. The other question I have for you is, how does yoga benefit a person with heart disease?
So as I said, today you have heart disease, you have a heart attack, you get a stent or a bypass surgery. And females or ladies, as you know, they generally protected till their menopause. But after menopause, the chance of them getting a heart attack, stroke is almost same. Some people believe it's actually more than a male of the same age, because you are protected because of estrogen for so many decades. Suddenly you lose that estrogen and that protection is gone. So that's the root of heart disease. That's how heart disease begins. So what it does is the core risk factors, as I said, for any heart disease, whether it's a male or a female, especially female postmenopausal, is high blood pressure, blood sugar, diabetes. Now, as I said, all of these are because of stress at the vascular level, at the cellular level, at the molecular level. A bunch of inflammatory markers like interleukins are increased. Something called hsCRP, which we physicians measure nowadays, is increased. But when you take drugs to prevent this, they don't go off. Their levels are decreased, number one. Secondly, you tend to have more, and you tend to take multiple amount of medications so that you can keep this under control. Because none of the drugs that we know today roots them out. So there is difference between controlling them and rooting them out. The only reason, so what happens is today you get a stent, or today you get bypass, and you'll get another in another couple of years. So first bypass, second bypass, and with every bypass, as you know, the mortality increases. People tend to die because of the surgery itself. Then when you grow older, like you're 70 years of age, I might split open your chest, but your chest, and you might have a very successful bypass, but then your chest won't close, because at that age, the chest remains open, and that the wound is there the rest of your life. It's a horrible condition. We used to have tens of patients like that. So the answer is to how to root that out, and the rooting out is through yoga. So yoga means doing regular, obviously asanas, but more than asanas, yoga is a way of life. Like I have people coming and telling me, oh, I go to yoga between 5 to 6. Yoga is not Pilates. Yoga is not running in a treadmill or doing iron. So I'm talking with you, I'm still doing yoga. The reason is yoga is a lifestyle. So a part of my brain is still concentrating. I can talk with you, I can read, but obviously this has taken time. This has taken 3-4 decades for this to happen. So my brain can still concentrate whatever I'm doing. And this concentration is called yoga. So not only you eat the right thing, you have a habit where you eat, sleep, and do everything in moderation, appropriate diet. We expect you to do some physical exercise. A lot of the so-called rishis, who are the founders or the real yogis, they don't even do exercise. The reason is, when mentally you control inflammation, you don't need to do exercise. So none of them, there are people in the Himalayas who are 90 years old, but they behave as if their body is only 40 or 50. And medicine did not used to believe that, but now medicine believes that, and therefore that has got a particular name. So a guy who's born 90 years back, he's chronologically 90 years old. But after practicing meditation, for example, 12 years of meditation can decrease your life by 5 years, your aging by 5 years. So you may be chronologically 90 years old, but physically your body is fit as a 50 years old man. So biologically you're 50, though chronologically you're 90. So that's why you find super old people, they look very young. That's the reason, is because they stop aging. Aging decreases. Inflammation decreases. They don't have disease. They've never heard of heart attack. They've never had a stroke. They can stand in the cold, -20. They don't get pneumonia. So this rooting out comes when you change things from inside, not when you do it from outside. Outside things has got a limit. After that, it doesn't work. And technology, at least till now, has not developed. Maybe in the future it will. And that's why Indian yogi says the change has to come from inside, not from outside. Outside change is already cosmetic. So you want a permanent change. You don't want a cosmetic change.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, excellent way, the way you talked about the yoga and things, and touched base on meditation and things at the same time. But the question also arises is, can yoga actually help prevent heart disease? And if so, how can it actually help prevent heart disease?
Oh, absolutely. So heart disease can completely be prevented by yoga. So as I said, it's a change in lifestyle. So what does yoga mean? Yoga means you are in a state of mind where your mind is not producing or doing things that is harming your body. So unfortunately, though you think it's your own mind and it's your own body, your mind is constantly trying to do things that can get your body sick. So first you got to change the mind. So this constant flow of thoughts and this constant flow of achievement or lack of achievement, anxiety, depression, all these are basically chemical changes. The unfortunate part is the chemical changes inside the brain is reflected every second, every minute in the body. 50 years back, science thought that only there are few illnesses which are because of the mind, and we called it psychosomatic diseases. Today we know every single disease has a mental component, because if mind is not doing it, body won't do it. And we also know that now that body and mind is not connected only by nerves. Every second there is information going from the mind to the brain, or from the brain to the body, from body to every second, through multiple other things, which we can discuss another day. So whenever you have an aberrant mental state like depression, anxiety, jealousy, worries, all these is directly responsible for releasing hormone. For example, epi and norepi is released that makes your heart go fast. You can even die. Since the time I'm talking with you, at least 3 or 4 Americans have died, because every 2 minutes one American dies because of what is known as sudden cardiac death. The heart goes very fast and you die. So a lot of these is caused because of how your brain thinks, what your brain does to the body. So when you practice yoga, when you do meditation, number one, as I said, you root this very basic inflammation, which is responsible for all these diseases. If you have no inflammation, then you don't have no vascular inflammation, you'll never ever have heart attack, you'll never ever have stroke, you'll never have peripheral artery disease, nothing. If you don't have epi coming out, your heart won't go fast to cause VT, VF, and all those diseases. So in essence, it's very simple. You live in Manhattan, you have a $2 million condo, and you have like 2.5 feet balcony. In that balcony, will you put up weeds or will you put up flowering plants? So this is the costliest Manhattan apartment that you have, your small brain. So you need to decide if you want to fill it with weeds, which gives you stress and which cause diseases, or you want to fill it with appropriate thoughts. It's as same as that. I mean, for every human being, this is the costliest piece of land that they have. So, and the other thing also is very important to understand that I might think whatever I feel like, I can't change my past. And I can again also think whatever I want to in the future, it might happen, it might not happen. And that's why we need to be in the present moment. Because no God on earth or heaven can prevent me from doing what I want to do now, because I have all the power for that. So we always stay either in the past or in the present. Oh, why should I do this? I shouldn't have done that. So when you think you shouldn't have done that, you can't change anything. But you can certainly make sure that you get heart attack within 5 years, because that subconsciously ravages your body and your brain. And if you going to do something in the future, you might, or you might reach there, but there's no guarantee that you will. But if I want to do something now, I want to live in the present, I want to be in the present, I want to make my body healthy by not indulging in all these thoughts, I can do that now. So very simple step, live in the present, practice yoga. And again, practice yoga means live in yoga, not practice. This is not something that you go to the gym and do. It's 24/7, 365. No heart disease will ever affect you.
So that is absolutely great, Dr. Indranill Basu Ray. I mean, the way you explained about how yoga actually affects our mind and how the mind and body connection works and things, it's absolutely great. So something I had for you was, what is your personal health and wellness routine that you would like to share?
I generally get up early in the morning at 4 o'clock. I try to meditate. And then I leave pretty early for my work. And then, I mean, my work is basically divided. Couple of days I'm in the cath lab almost the whole day. Actually, we call it EP lab, where we do complex procedures, VT ablation, AF ablation, put in pacemakers and other things. The other days I do clinics, and a couple of times a month I am in charge of the CCU, the critical care unit, and consults. So obviously critical care unit, we have almost 14, 15 beds, super sick patients, multiple heart attacks or other problems, or severe heart failure, end-stage heart disease, what we call. So basically in between doing clinics, seeing patients in the floor or doing consults, I spend most of the day. I used to come back pretty late when I was in a private practice. I don't do private practice. I did private practice for a very short time. Most of the time I was in academics. Now also I'm in academics. I'm at the VA. So I come home and after like 6:30, and then I do some reading, spend time with my family, especially with my son. And then I try to go to bed early, but unfortunately there's always some calls coming. Uh, but that's pretty much the regular physical routine.
Okay. What wellness tips and health tips would you like to share with the audience today?
So first thing is, don't eat too much. So overeating is bad. You don't have to do fad eating like, oh, I stopped having fat completely. Listen, you have to understand 90% of your brain is fat. So you have to eat everything, but within limits. Or if you eat too much protein when you're past 50, 60, you'll develop arthritis because your body does not have the capacity to excrete those proteins. So any of the so-called crazy diets that you find, most of them are harmful. Atkins diet, the guy himself died of heart failure. I mean, he made millions of dollars selling Atkins diet, he dies of heart failure. Keto diet is good for a very, very short time. Long time, it has got bad consequences. So any crazy diet doesn't help. What does help is don't overeat. Intermittent fasting does help. Intermittent fasting has become more better now after people got the Nobel Prize. In 2017, a Japanese got a Nobel Prize for that. But what we fail to understand is we've been doing intermittent fasting forever. In Hindu philosophy, my mother, my aunt, they do a couple of times a week, they are fasting. Though they do it because of a ritual, but ultimate result is same. So whether you do it for a ritual or you do it just because you need to fast, it doesn't matter. But now it has got a scientific credence because somebody got a Nobel Prize. So the original yogic system, fasting 1 day a week was normal. In most of the time, people avoided late dinners. They either had little dinner, they had a strong meal in the afternoon, morning, and after evening, they tend to have less food. Nowadays, what we have is we work till late, 7, 8 p.m., then we come, have a stomach full of dinner, then you go to sleep. So what does that happen? So that causes all the acid from the stomach to come up. You get sleep apnea, you develop bronchial asthma, like because you have acid going to your lung. And then there is no exercise. So those fat absorbed from your gut goes and blocks all your arteries. And that's why by the age you're 70 of dementia, by the age you're 50, you have a couple of heart disease. I mean, nowadays, I know 35-year-old guys coming with my bypass surgery, having multiple bypass surgeries. So it's all a lifestyle. So number one, eat less. Number two, practice yoga, practice meditation. At least some form of, you don't have to be ritualistic, you don't have to follow any religion, but do some plain asanas and then just sit for meditation, do some meditation practice. And third most is try to live in the present. I mean, whatever you want to achieve in life, you can achieve. Nobody else in the universe can stop you. That's what Vivekananda said. But achievement doesn't mean cursing yourself for the past, which will not change anything, or hoping for the future if you don't do anything in the present. So live in the present moment. Now only exist. Future is not on you. Past you can't control or you cannot change. So these are the three very simple ways to life. Life is very uncomplicated. Nature is very uncomplicated. We make it more complicated and then blame the nature for it. Nothing in nature is very complicated. I think it is Einstein who said that when a concept is very complicated and you cannot explain it to others or you tell others it's very complicated, that means you haven't understood yourself at all. because nothing in this universe is complicated. That's not the way nature behaves or acts. So if you make it very complicated, the fault is yours, not nature's fault.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, whatever you shared today was absolutely great knowledge, Dr. Indranill Basu Ray. And, especially the way you explained and you touch base on yoga, meditations, its effects, and how everybody should really, make sure that, they have a healthier lifestyle as well. Do you have any update on any event and things that you want to share with the audience today?
Yeah, we, as part of American Academy of Yoga and Meditation, every week, every month, we do a bunch of webinars on different diseases and how yoga can be used for that. We recently had on migraine, we had on depression, we had on heart disease, we had on breast cancer. As you know, breast cancer is the largest killer in the Western Hemisphere, cancer. So people are most welcome. They can go online, just type American Academy of Yoga and Meditation, and both in the YouTube or in the Facebook, or go to our site, which is AAYM, because it's American Academy of Yoga and Meditations, AAYMonline.org. See, I mean, these are all free for everybody. These are meant to spread the scientific idea of yoga, so that people understand, like just my guru was, yoga is very scientific, it's science. Even the rishis talked about science. It was in between thousands of years, those science got lost, and we have reduced yoga from a completely scientific thing, as we now know, due to last 3-4 decades. There's been tons of development in medicine by which we understood what yoga is. Especially, we developed imaging techniques to go inside a living brain, and that's how we understood all this. So imagine these sages or rishis 10,000 years back, how powerful they might have been, that they discovered all this at that time, and we are sort of rediscovering it. And this makes me, this reminds me of a really, really very important quote. I don't know if you guys have heard of somebody called Werner Heisenberg. Werner Heisenberger was one of the biggest scientists who came out with what is known as quantum theory. I mean, the whole universe is based on one of the theories known as quantum mechanics. So one of the famous quote of Werner Heisenberger is, "What we are inventing today are not invention. They are but discoveries, because they have been invented by Hindu rishis long ago." One of the fathers of 20th century science after Einstein, actually before Einstein, who actually proved Einstein wrong, quantum physics, says this, that what we are inventing are just discoveries that have been invented by Hindu rishis long back. Buddha's description of how the brain works is same as what we have today, only we have added some tough names, which is difficult to pronounce, and some medical terms to it. But the basic way how he's sitting under a peepal tree, how he described mind and body works, it's basically the same even today. So that's it.
So that's really great. I mean, great discussion that we had, and we'll definitely will be sharing those links as well for everybody to make sure that they can go to the website, as well as listen to some of those and look at those episodes as well. If people want to contact you, how can they reach out to you?
They can email me, I Basu Ray, that's my first name, my last name together, at yahoo.com. And I do scientific also talks on yoga and meditation. So if you have anything in Dallas, I can come over and we can do for people who may be interested, which would include a workshop, and then actually take people down into deep meditation so that they can do for themselves at their own homes. And just for the sake of it, I don't charge for teaching anybody meditation, because nobody charged me for teaching meditation. Unlike some of the present day gurus, they charge for everything. Vivekananda didn't charge anything. Sri Ramakrishna didn't charge anybody. Adi Shankara did not charge anybody. So I have no right to charge. Obviously, if you're having it in a hotel or something, that they have to pay. But getting the knowledge is free for everybody, and I want to make it free the rest of my life at least. Whoever wants to take it from me and practice it, it's for everybody, so everybody's welcome.
So absolutely great, and thank you so much for sharing all the wonderful knowledge today. And I'm really excited, to have bring this episode to all everybody out there who's really interested more into yoga, meditation, and especially the way Dr. Indranill Basu Ray talked more about, the effect on especially prevention of heart disease, which is really astounding. So thank you so much for coming on our show today, and I'm really happy to learn from you. And there's always, whenever I have a conversation with you, I always come out learning so much. So thank you so much again for coming on our show. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. You too. Take care.